This video is brought to you by Sportland, quality, integrity, and tradition.
Alright, we've got an exhaust fan right here. We recently just did some work on this fan. We put a motor on it. So I came back out today because the customer called complaining that it wasn't working. When I arrived, what I found was the top of the pulley sitting right there. Okay, now I opened this up just because I wanted to see. We've got a couple things that we can correct. Number one, that's not appropriate. You don't wrap stranded wire around a screw, ever. You use a connector and you terminate it correctly. So that's an incorrect. So we got lots of coaching moments here and some conversations that I need to have. The next thing, sometimes things happen. We forgot to tighten that screw on, okay? Another little thing, pet peeve of mine, is don't leave your trash on the roof right here, okay? There's little tails. But, again, I'm just lighting this one up. The other thing I'm noticing, I don't know if you guys can see it, in no way are those pulleys aligned. This one right here is way down low. The bottom of this right here is at the top of that. Now I'm gonna get the top put on it, screwed on, and we're gonna have to pull this guy off because judging by the screw right here, this guy is going into the bottom of the key. So in order to move this down, we're gonna have to flip this guy over, which is not ideal. But we definitely got a lot of learning that can happen and some conversations that I need to have. The pulleys are not aligned. The top of this was not tightened on. That ground screw, you never wrap stranded wire around that. So I'm gonna have to talk to someone about that and fix that. But we're gonna go through this, and I'm not just gonna stop here. We're gonna fix these issues. Of course, no charge to the customer. And I'm gonna investigate the other fans too, because I hear some fans that are pretty loud over there. They kind of sound, so I'll look into those. But yeah, we always got to be thorough on this. We don't want to be rushing through a job. We want to make sure that the customer's taken care of and everything's 100%. Callbacks are more than just the cost and the money involved in the call, because callbacks ruin reputations also. If you have a callback, then the customer says, well, obviously you can't fix it right the first time. Now, sometimes you can't help it. Sometimes there's weird circumstances, but this one, there was no excuse, and I need to correct these problems because this is a direct reflection on me and my company. Also, before anybody asks, that right there is not from us. Someone hinged this guy years ago. You can tell this is really old damage, but this has been like this for years. It's driven me nuts, but the AC works, so the customer doesn't want to deal with it. But if you look at this, that fan hinges right into this, so it's just a horrible location. Maybe a little better perspective. You can see that the bottom of this, when it's put back together, is well above that. So they're not aligned whatsoever. And you can kind of tell that they weren't aligned because you have a lot of belt wear right here. So I'm gonna get this cleaned up, and I don't think the belt is ruined. Nah, I think it's fine, but we'll see once we get it on there. Because I mentioned the key, which is, there's a set screw right there. You guys aren't going to be able to see it too well. It's going into the bottom of the key, meaning that I can't move that down anymore. So I'm going to have to actually invert it and flip it over. And by doing that, I'll be able to move it a lot lower. I don't like it like that, but it is what it is because of the style of the motor. There's no way to move this down more, and there's no way to move this up more. You can see it's literally riding right on the bottom. It's not touching, but it's right there. So I'm gonna get this pulled off. I gotta use my puller because it's not wanting to come. We'll pop it off, I'll flip it over, and then I'll show you guys the process. All right, I took the puller. It didn't take much. Because it's a new thing, it was just kind of on there tight, but it pulled right off. Now, if you see, now this set screws on this side, and it allows me all the room to go as low as I want. And now I'll try to see if that lines up. Now there's a possibility even that won't line up. So I gotta go get a straight edge, and we'll get a belt on there, and we'll try to make sure it's gonna work. If not, we'll have to get some sort of we'll have to do something here. Looking at this, this belt, when I try to put it on, is a hair too tight. I don't like how tight it is. And because of everything, we can't bring this, basically to loosen it, you bring this nut in, and this whole bracket sets in, pushes in. we can't do that because of this motor box right here. So I could either cut this bolt or I can go get a bigger belt, which I think is what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna go get a bigger belt. We're gonna make this right. So we need a AX55, maybe even an AX56. AX56, because there's plenty of room here. So I think we're gonna get some 56 belts. Also, I think what I'm gonna have to do, because judging by the look of it, this is also not sitting level because of the fan. Something's in here. So I think I'm gonna have to drill some new holes and drop this motor down to that bolt hole right there. If I drop that down, that'll drop everything down and I should be able to level it out. First thing I gotta do is check to see if the fan's level, because if that's the case, then what I could do is bolt it up on this side to the bracket and then put a level on it and make sure that when I drill the holes for this side, they're lined up. I think that'll work. This whole thing looks like a redo, huh? All right, see, always put connectors. So a simple yellow fork connector, crimped it on, we're good to go. That problem's solved. Now I need to get to the bottom. I'm gonna go get some belts and then, well, I tell you what, before I get the belts, I need to level out the motor and make sure that it's gonna work before I go all the way to the supply house. So I'm gonna work on getting the motor leveled out, go get a level from the van and a straight edge and get the pulley lined up. And once I do that, then we'll worry about putting the belts on. So that entire motor needs to turn left just a hair because it's not sitting level. Now, next thing, we need to make sure that the fan is level too. So the fan's not sitting level, so that means that I can't really use a level to level out the motor, which makes it even more difficult. So I got to use the micrometer. Judging from the looks, to be honest with you, it actually looks like it might be pretty darn straight. Maybe I won't have to drill the motor bolts out. I think it's an optical illusion. Now, here's one of the downsides. So, like, okay, let's use a straight edge, right? Well, the problem is that these pulleys are different heights. So a straight edge, what you could do is say, okay, this end and this end is not touching right here on the straight edge, right? But in a perfect world, you would want all ends touching where the straight edge makes contact with the pulleys. But the thing is that the pulleys aren't the same. The thickness of this top piece is not the same. So it's not really, you got to use some sort of an eyeball in here, especially on something like this. You can get sophisticated laser level stuff, but we're not going to use that on a fan this small. So judging by the look, it actually looks like it might be pretty lined up, like where I have it. So I might not need to, like I said, drill the motor out, but I need to make sure that the motor is best as possible. I might need to shift the motor a little bit because I feel like it's kind of twisted this way. So it's kind of tricky. Right. I think what I'm going to do, because it is lined up as best as it's going to get right here. Okay, so that's good. I'm going to go get a bigger belt, and these bearings need grease. They're loud bearings. So we're going to go ahead and grease those guys up, and hopefully that shuts up the bearings. And like I said, when I get back to, I'll twist this guy just a little bit because it's a little off in that direction. All right, I went ahead and greased these guys up. The bearings don't sound the greatest, but they calm down as far as the loud noise. But in the future, we're gonna need to replace those bearings pretty quick. Now I'm gonna go ahead and go get this new belt, and then we should be good to go on this one. So what I'm doing now is we are going to tighten up the belt. Now I ended up getting two different size belts. I got an A55 and an A56 because I didn't know what it would take. The 55 works perfectly. And what I'm going to do is back this nut on this back side this way, and that's going to put tension on here, and that's the proper way to torque this. You technically don't want to be rolling belts on. I know I was doing that with the old one, and sometimes you have to do what you have to do. I'm not going to say I don't roll on belts. I do. But in a perfect world, don't do it and tighten this way from these guys. You know, start loose and then pull the tension. So I'm going to work on that right now. All right, got everything tightened up. Now we have room right here to, you know, tighten the belt if we need to. I got a spare belt to go in here. I just need to tighten these screws on this. Looks like they turned off the switch downstairs because it's on and it's not running. But I'm going to run down there, get that turned on. We'll find a permanent place for that spare belt inside here. We'll get rid of the old stuff. And hopefully this will be good. All right. If I did everything right, this should turn on. And we are operating the way that it should be. It's going in the right direction. I will talk to them eventually. They're going to need to replace these bearings on here, but it's fine for now. Fans working. All the other fans are working, but they do have issues with like belts and stuff. I brought that to their attention, so we'll probably be back soon to fix that. But this one right here is our problem. No charge to the customer because we got to make things right. Now, here's the thing. You know, I could be a shady contractor and I could charge them for this and they wouldn't know the difference. Okay, they wouldn't, but I'm not interested in making a quick buck. I want to continue to work for this customer. Just gonna have a conversation with my employee and we're gonna coach some issues and correct and learn from this, okay? Nobody's gonna get yelled at. It's just gonna be like, hey, this is why we don't do this. This is what can happen. You know, this is why we don't operate in a hurry. We don't do rush jobs. I don't pressure my guys. I don't badger my guys. They get all the time that they need to work on equipment. And if they can't get it done, then we come back another day because I'm more concerned with my customer having good, properly operating equipment and them continuing to use me for years and years and years to come than for me to make a quick buck off of a silly job like this.
So this was a little bit different of a video. Never really done anything like this, but I figured that this was a good coaching moment all the way around, okay? Had a good discussion with my employee, and he was very receptive to everything and understood where the faults were. Showed him some video, showed him some different things, saying, look, this is how you can improve. These are some mistakes that were made. And it was all little things, you know, just simple mistakes like, hey, we didn't get the pulleys aligned, okay? We forgot to tighten the set screw on the top of the pulley and the ground. The ground was more, I mean, it was grounded. It was functional, but it's just not a good way of doing things, okay? And I do realize, I'm sure everybody's already yelling at me in the comments, that there is a time and place that you can actually use stranded wire and wrap it around a screw. There's special little bushings that go behind a screw that actually contain wire. It's not my favorite way of doing things. I don't like wrapping stranded wire around anything. So I realize it can be done, but that's not how we do it. And understand something, that these videos are actually meant for my employees, and the public just gets, you know, benefit from watching them, or entertainment, or whatever you want to, whatever you guys get from it, right? But they're genuinely intended for my employees as a training aid, okay? So we don't wrap stranded wire, period, okay? I realize, and I'm not saying I've never done it before, but it's just not good. There's too much care and thought that needs to go into wrapping that stranded wire to make sure it's done right. There's lots of things that we could have done better. Like if we simply would have just reversed the rotation of the wire and had it wrapped in a clockwise fashion so that when you tightened it, it actually tightened the wire into there, but still it's not a good way of doing it. Those yellow fork connectors are super easy to crimp on and be done with, okay? So went ahead, like I said, had a discussion with my employee on the places that we can improve on, okay, and just explained everything. And it's okay to make mistakes, right? As long as you grow and learn from them, okay? So, you know, I'm always very concerned with the customer's perception of me and my company, okay? So it's very important that we take care of issues. I don't like callbacks. Callbacks are really, really bad, and they ruin your reputation, okay? I don't like going on my employees' callbacks either, because it actually makes them look worse in the eyes of the customer. Because think about it. One of my employees goes out there and fixes something, and then it doesn't work again, and then I show up. Then the customer starts, you know, thinking in their head, hey, well, I want this person to come out because he's the person that always saves the day. You know what I'm saying? So in general, I don't like going on their callbacks, okay? But at the same time, sometimes I have to, right? And in this situation, I went back out there and we took care of everything. Again, no charge to the customer because we got to make sure that they're happy, right? I don't want to make a quick buck off of them. I want to continue to make money off of them for years and years and years to come in an honest and fair way. I provide a service, and that service is to maintain and repair their equipment that inevitably is going to break down no matter what, right? So if I can be honest and fair and trustworthy with them, right, then maybe they're going to continue to use me. Now, in this situation, I very easily could have just charged the customer for this work, and they would have paid it because they trust me. But I can't sleep at night if I was to try to rip my customers off. I wouldn't be able to sleep at night because I have a conscience and it wears and sits and just drags me down, okay? So I have to do right by my customers. I have to make sure they're taken care of, all right? So this was a learning lesson. We all learned from it, you know, and my employee learned from it, and we're going to grow from this, okay? So I know this was kind of a different video, but it is what it is. I really do appreciate you guys making it to the end as usual. If you haven't already, please consider subscribing to the YouTube channel, okay? That really does help out the channel, and interact whenever possible. Thumbs up, comments, whatever it may be, definitely helps any kind of engagement with the channel. If you're interested in supporting the channel, there's a couple different ways you can do so. The easiest way to help support the channel is simply just watch the videos from beginning to end. That's the easiest way, okay? You can financially support the channels via PayPal, Patreon, or YouTube channel memberships. Those are all different monthly commitments you can make. That's on you. There's links in the show notes if you're interested in doing that. Another great way to support the channel is by visiting my website, hvacrvideos.com. We have merchandise available. That's actually where these hats are available, and soon we're going to have some new hats, so stay tuned. I got a shipping confirmation that they're going to be here anytime soon. We have some flat bill hats, and we have some dad caps, so those will be available very, very soon. And another great way to help support the channel, if you're interested in doing so, is if you want to check out TrueTechTools.com, which is a tool website specifically for air conditioning, refrigeration, and airflow stuff. If you go to their website, they have lots of great tools. I purchase a good majority of my tools from there. If you use my offer code, big picture, one word, you'll get an 8% discount on checkout on almost all the items on their website. There's a few things it doesn't apply to, but the cool thing is when you use my offer code, not only do you get an 8% discount, but I get a small commission from that. So it's a win-win. You get a discount on your tools, you get great tools from a great place, and then I get a small commission, so it's a cool way to help support the channel if you're interested in doing that, okay? Again, TrueTechTools.com. I really do appreciate you guys. Thank you so very much, and we will catch you on the next one, okay?